So we've been doing a video series on how to play chords on the piano. We've covered major chords and we have covered minor chords. And today what we're going to be talking about is how to play chord inversions on the piano. Now I know inversion sounds like a very complicated word, but it's actually quite simple when we break it down and we look at exactly how to do it. If you're interested in seeing the other videos in this chord series, I'm going to be linking that for you up here, and I'll also be linking them in the description below. Without further ado, let's jump right into how to play chord inversions on the piano. So very quickly, what is a chord inversion on the piano? It means moving the chord, which you've learned the basics of. For example, this major triad chord, moving this into a different variation of the same chord, for example, like this. So it's still all the same notes, but it's just in a different variation or a different version. And that's just simply what an inversion is. It just means changing the way that the chord is structured. It doesn't change the actual notes of the chord. It just changes the order that you're playing them in and then the fingering that you're using to play it. Let me break down for you just very briefly the two basic types of inversions that a triad chord can go through, and then I'll share with you exactly the fingerings you can use to play them. So today I'm going to get started by showing you the right hand in a C major triad chord. So let's just start with that very basic chord starting on C. And if you remember, the major triad chord is built with a major third and a minor third stacked on top of each other. So this is your most basic version of the triad chord. Now, if I want to move this into what is called first inversion, you're going to take the bottom note of your chord, which is C in this case, and instead of playing it here, now you're going to move the C up to the top of the chord. So instead of playing this C down here, I'm now going to play the C that's one octave above it, up here. So I'm taking this C out, and I'm going to move my hand so that I can now reach the new C above it, and I'm going to keep the other two notes the same. So the E and G, and now the C is above. So this is known as first inversion. And again, all I did was I took the basic triad chord, I took the bottom note of that triad chord, and I just simply moved it one octave up. And in the right hand, this is the fingering that you will almost always use for the first inversion of the chord is 1, 2, 5. So now moving from first inversion into what is known as second inversion is again the exact same step. You're going to take the bass note that's on the bottom here, which is E now, and you're going to jump up one octave with it. So it still is E, it's just the next octave up. Then I keep those other two notes the same. G and C stay the same, and E goes on the top. And my fingering here is 1, 3, 5. So that is second inversion of the triad chord. Now, if I did that one more time, I'm actually going to end up being back to the original triad chord, but just in a higher octave. So if I take this bass note, G, the bottom note, and I jump up one octave with it, here we go. I'm going to keep these two notes the same, C, E, G. And you see, here I am back to that major triad pattern, and it's exactly the same as I started out with. It's just that it's one octave higher than where I started out. So now the fun part with this, and this is a great way to practice getting comfortable with your inversions, is to slowly move up the piano, practicing the triad chord and then first and second inversion, and then moving on to the next triad chord. So I'll start down low here and show you that. So you go, and then here's first inversion, second inversion, and back to original chord, which sometimes is also called the root, meaning like the base, like the root of a tree where everything is built off of. So this is known as the root chord. And we have first inversion, second inversion, root, first inversion, second inversion. Let's look at the left hand for the major triad chord and inversions. Basically, it's exactly the same process, but the fingering is going to just be opposite of what the right hand was doing. So with our root chord, or the home chord. We're going to start on C, and we do 5, 3, 1. Now, when we take it to first inversion, we'll take that bottom note C, and we're going to jump it up 1 octave. So it moves places. We're going to keep E and G in the same spot, and just play that C on the top now. And our fingering will be 5, 3, 1. And that is first inversion. Now we're going to take the bottom note again, which is E, jump it up 1 octave. And our fingering changes a bit to get our hand around that. G, C, E. And that is second inversion. And then if we do that step one more time, we're going to end up being back again at the root chord, just like when we did right hand. So we take G, jump up 1 octave. Okay, and then to make our hand fit it, it'll be back to 5, 3, 1. Back to root again. Pretty cool. Let me show you a few repetitions of this. I'm going to start down low here. So this is starting on a C that's lower on the piano. Root, first, second, root, first, second inversion, root, first inversion, second inversion, and then back to root. So you could do this literally in any key on the piano. You can use any note as a starting note. And what you do is you just start by building the basic major triad chord. And then from there, you'll just use that system of taking the bottom note, moving it up 1 octave, and then following that fingering that we just talked about to follow the first inversion, the second inversion, and then back to the root chord again. Now, I'm going to also just quickly show you how to do the same process with the minor triad chord. So it's going to follow the same way that we did with the major triad chord, except of course now we're using the intervals for a minor triad chord, which is a minor third and a major third put together. We're going to use D as our example today. Starting on D, we'll do the minor third and the major third built together. And there is our minor triad chord. This is the root chord, meaning it's the one that we're going to build from when we use inversions. So when we do first inversion, we're going to take the bottom note, jump it up 1 octave, up to here to this D, and we'll keep these 2 notes the same, the F and the A. So we're using all the same notes, just changing the arrangement of how our hand is playing them. So now we're going to do finger 1, finger 2, and finger 5 for the first inversion. Now if we want to move up to second inversion, we use that same step process. We take the bottom note, which is F, and we're going to play this above instead of below. So it's this F up here. And we're going to change our fingering, so it's going to be 1, 3, 5. And that is second inversion of the minor triad chord. And then if we follow that step just one more time, we're going to find ourselves back at the root chord, but just 1 octave higher than where we began in the beginning. So right here, take the bottom note, which is A, play it up 1 octave. So now you're going to move your hand to fit that. 1, 3, 5. So let me show you the whole process from down here. Root chord, first inversion, second inversion, back to root. First inversion, second inversion, root. Now let's look at the left hand for the minor triad chord. So we'll use D again. Left hand is going to follow that same pattern. It's just opposite fingering. So you're starting with 5, 3, 1. So that's the root chord in left hand. Now we take that bottom note D, jump it up 1 octave. All right, and now to make it fit in our hand, we'll follow the fingering 5, 3, 1 for our first inversion in the left hand. Now for second inversion, you'll take that bottom note, go up 1 octave, and you're now going to use the fingering 5, 2, 1. Now we'll do that one more time to get back to the root chord 1 octave above where we started. So that, my friends, is how to play inversions on your piano. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like down below, and you can subscribe to my channel for a lot more content on how to grow from a beginner to advanced on the piano.